Hello and welcome back to Cultivating Home. So today we're going to be talking about books. If you know me, you know I can literally talk books all day, every day. Today I want to talk about just some of my favorite books that I read in 2020. Now, they may not have been published in 2020. They may not be new books, but they were new to me in 2020. I just love a good book. I love visiting new worlds and meeting new characters and just getting lost within the pages of a book. So I'm not a big TV person. I enjoy a good movie, and I'll watch TV sometimes at the end of the day with, my family or my husband, but I'm generally not the type of person that'll just stop midday to put a TV show on. I'm more of a person who will stop midday to read a good book. And if it's really good, I may be there all day. Every year I set a goal for myself to read 50 books a year. And usually I get pretty close. Sometimes I'll read one or two over. And 50 may sound like a ton of books to some of you, and 50 may seem like none at all to some of you. So 50 is a goal that is a little bit challenging for me, but definitely doable. And so I just always kind of set the goal at 50. So this year I read 47. So out of the 47 books that I read, these are the ones that, when I thought back, these were the ones that immediately came to mind. And so I want to share them with you because I think that you guys would really enjoy them. Before I begin, I'm going to preface this with, I am very bad at summarizing a book without giving spoilers. So I am not going to give any spoilers. So the first book, it's actually a series of 3 novellas, and this was written by a friend of mine, Amber Crawley, and they are available on Amazon. She independently published these, and they are fantastic. So they all did not come out this year. They all did not come out in 2020, but this last one, Dear Luna, did. And it was just a beautiful series. If you're looking for an escape read, this is definitely a good one. And so it's about a young girl, I believe she was 17, 18, Vanessa Marshall, and she grew up in foster care. She never really knew much about her family, except for every now and then she would get a mysterious birthday letter from her mom who she never met. So a few weeks before her birthday, she gets this mysterious letter from her mom telling her to jump off Swan Pier at midnight at the next full moon. And so she does that. And when she comes up, she realizes she's 70 years in the past. And so she's kind of retracing her family history. She's meeting relatives and people that she had never met. She's meeting them 70 years in the past. And it's really cool because she finds this lighthouse that has a secret room, and that's where she stays when she's there. And the lighthouse has a nightstand that's full of journals from all of the time-traveling women in her family. And so I don't want to give anything away, so I was about to spoil something. But anyway, it is such an awesome story, and Amber is such a beautiful person. She actually has a YouTube channel over at Amber Crawley. And yeah, you should definitely check out this series. It's available on Amazon. So the next one, this actually did come out in 2020. This is Love and Olives by Jenna Welch. I always want to call her Jenna Evans because she's Jenna Evans Welch. But the reason I always want to call her Jenna Evans is because her father is actually probably my favorite author. Her father is Richard Paul Evans, and ever since I was 16 years old, my parents have given me one of his books. He comes out with a new book every Christmas, and they have given me his new Christmas book every year since I was 16. And so I always think Richard Paul Evans when I hear, when I see Jenna's books, and so I always just want to call her Jenna Evans. But anyway, she is the author of Love and Gelato and Love and Luck, and now Love and Olives. I loved Love and Gelato. Love and Luck, I wasn't that crazy about. It was good, but I don't know, it just felt like meh to me. And then she came out with Love and Olives, which is set in Santorini, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to read this, of course, because it's set in Greece. And so I really did like this book. I do think I like this as much as Love and Gelato, but I think a big part of it for me too was that Greek heritage, and it was just kind of cool seeing it, I guess, from an outsider's perspective. And so, let's see, I'll read you the jacket flap on this one. So, Santorini felt like an island holding its breath, as if it were keeping in a secret. Liz Varanakis doesn't like to think about her father much, which makes sense. He fled to Greece when she was only 8, leaving her with just a few painful memories of their shared love for the lost city of Atlantis. So when teenage Liv suddenly receives a postcard from her father who explains that National Geographic is supporting a documentary about his theories on Atlantis and asks if she will fly out to Greece to help, Liv is less than thrilled. When she arrives in gorgeous Santorini, things are just as awkward as she'd imagined. There are so many questions, so many emotions that flood to the surface after seeing her father for the first time in years. Liv doesn't want to get sucked back into her father's world. She also doesn't want Theo, her father's charismatic so-called protege, to witness her struggle. Even so, she can't help but be charmed by everything Santorini has to offer. The beautiful sunsets, the turquoise water, the sun-drenched villages, and the delicious cuisine. But not everything on the Greek island is as perfect as it seems. Because as Liv slowly begins to discover, her father may not have invited her to Greece for Atlantis, but for something much more important. This is just a beautiful little story. It's got themes of reconciliation, and of course it's got that Greek flavor thrown in. I will say, being Greek and being Greek Orthodox, it was kind of strange for me to read about Greece and not really be reading about its culture, really. I mean, it does have Greek culture, but she separated the Greek culture from the Orthodox culture, which if you're Greek, you know that that's just like, it just feels crazy. And so she'll like mention a church or something, but it feels so abstract to me. And so that's one thing I realized, but I did really enjoy the book. So the next book that I wanted to share with you is called Deleted, and this is by Ruth Mitchell and published by Immortal Works, which is one of my favorite small publishers. I feel like they put out really good content, really clean content for the most part. This is a young adult book. And so this is one of theirs, and I really enjoyed it. And so this one is kind of cool because it's kind of like techie, and I am so not tech savvy, but I still really enjoyed this book. It's futuristic. It's like in a post-smartphone world where now, instead of smartphones and tablets, everybody wears these glasses called specs. Somebody finds out how to hack into the specs and delete people's memories, and it's just, and there's a little bit of romance in there. And this is a young adult book, and so the romance is not heavy. It's very clean, which I like. It was super good. I read this in, I think, like a day and a half. Super good. The next one is A Dress for the Wicked by the wonderful Autumn Krause. And Autumn is an author who lives in California. She's also Orthodox, which I thought, was just kind of cool. And so I am big on first lines. I think that's my writer training, just because I remember from writers' conferences back in the day, they would always put heavy emphasis on first lines. And so some books have like an astounding first line where you're like, wow. Like one that I will never forget is Ruta Sepetys' book, Between Shades of Grey. The very first line is, "They took me in my nightgown." And of course that just pulls you in, because you're like, who took her in her nightgown? Why was she in her nightgown? And so the book is about a girl in a Siberian concentration camp. So I'm not gonna get into that, but I just wanted to give that as an example of first lines. Like some of them just stick with you forever, and Autumn's definitely will stick with me because I just thought it was hilarious and true, and just, I thought it was perfect. So of course I have to read it to you. So her first line in A Dress for the Wicked is, "When I was growing up, the rector of our parish told me, don't judge people by the way they dress. There can be angels in rags and demons in silk." How awesome is that? So this book is another just awesome read, totally clean, young adult. I love young adult. I love middle grade too. I really read from all genres. But this book has major The Devil Wears Prada feels. I mean, that's just what kept popping into my mind the entire time that I read it. And it's about a teen girl from this small little town who gets a shot at attending this really prestigious fashion school competition. And if she makes it, she can totally recreate a new life for herself. And if she doesn't, she's going to have to face going back to her, little town defeated. And so it's an awesome book. So Its Jacket Flap is, true to its name, the sleepy town of Skye in Avon upon Kent is a place where nothing much happens. And for 18 years, Emmeline Watkins has feared that her future held just that, nothing. But when Madame Jolene, the head of the most admired fashion house in the country, throws open her prestigious design competition to girls from outside the stylish capital city, Emmy's dreams seem closer than they ever have before. As the first country girl to compete, Emmy knows she'll encounter extra hurdles on her way to the top. But there are surprises around every corner in the fashion house, and distractions, from unexpected romance to competitors set on sabotage, threaten to derail Emmy's concentration for good. As Emmy navigates the twisted world of high fashion, she starts to wonder, will she be able to tailor herself to fit into this dark, corrupted race, and at what cost? So, A Dress for the Wicked. Next up is Lovely War. Lovely War is, this is one of those books, this is by Julie Berry. When I really love a book, for some reason, I feel like I need to have it in different formats. So I had originally purchased this, the hardcover book, and after I read it, it's one of those books that kind of just sticks with you. And I also downloaded the audiobook version on Audible, which I have to say I'm really picky about the Audible books that I download. I always listen to the samples, sometimes more than once, because I'm big on narration. If the narration is just like blah to me, or for some reason it just doesn't resonate with me, I can't listen to it. But I have to say that this book was also narrated wonderfully. It is fantastic. And so this book is based on stories from World I and World II, but it's told from the point of view of different gods and goddesses. And so, before I ruin it, I will read you the jacket flap. A sweeping, multi-layered romance set in the perilous days of World Wars I and II, where gods hold the fates and the hearts of 4 mortals in their hands. They are Hazel, James, Aubrey, and Colette, a classical pianist from London, a British would-be architect turned soldier, a Harlem-born ragtime genius in the US Army, and a Belgian orphan with a gorgeous voice and a devastating past. Their story is told by the goddess Aphrodite, who must spin the tale or face judgment on Mount Olympus, is filled with hope and heartbreak, prejudice and passion, and reveals that though war is a formidable force, it's no match for the transcendent power of love. So, I honestly cannot even tell you more about this book without ruining it, but I will tell you, you have to read this. This is probably my top 3 favorite books that I have read in a long time, not just in 2020. So, A Lovely War by Julie Berry. I think pretty much everything that I have covered so far has been young adult. So the next book is actually the latest book by the author that I mentioned a little bit ago, Ruta Sepetys, who wrote Between Shades of Grey. That was her debut novel about the Siberian concentration camps. And that's still one of my favorite books of all time. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend that too. But this is her latest. It is called Fountains of Silence. And it takes place in Madrid in the 1950s. And it's a romance. Of course, there's always some romance in her books. And so there's this, you know, light romance going on between the two main characters. One is the son of an oil tycoon from Texas who is in Madrid for the summer, who has a passion for photography that he's really afraid to pursue because he's expected to follow in the family business. And the maid of his hotel, who he falls in love with. So what I love about Ruta Sepetys' books is she always kind of shines a light on really dark parts of history. And I love historical fiction. I think that's why I'm so drawn to her books. And so this particular one is talking about corruption that's happening in Spain, in Madrid particularly, with the adoption process and the orphanages and the things like that. So it's really kind of a heavy book, but she writes it so well that it doesn't leave you feeling heavy like when you're done reading. Like, she still has enough of the romance and the other things in there that kind of lightens it up a little bit, even though it's talking about a really dark time. So yes, this is another awesome, fantastic book. Definitely in my top 3 too, with Lovely War. So the next one is an Orthodox book. And again, this is not a new book per se, but it is a new edition. It has been updated. There's a lot of extra stuff. This is Orthodox Christian Parenting, Recipes for Raising Children. So this book is from Zoe Press, and it has, I get a lot of questions on my blog and my social media asking me for good parenting books. This is my #1 recommendation most of the time, because it is a compilation of parenting advice from a number of sources. It's from their holy fathers and different saints' writings on parenting, and it also has just different parents' perspective and different stories. And so this book just has a lot of information. And it actually, let me double check, I know the first one does. Yes. So it starts with marriage and new beginnings. So you don't even have to have kids yet to start reading this. It talks about just marriage advice, and it goes all the way from that through empty nesting, and there's some parts in there about grandparenting. And so this is just a really beautiful resource to have. The next one, again, is not a new book, and it actually is not even new to me in 2020, but I believe the first time I read this was 2019, but I did read it again in 2020, and this is just one of my favorite books as well. This is Words of the Heart by Ereaders. And I feel like this book, first of all, her biography at the beginning of the book, it's very brief, but you can read the biography and you will know by the time you're done that, oh my goodness, I needed this book. I feel like it's one of the few books that taps into women's spiritual emotions. And so I really connected with that. I really appreciated that perspective. But her story is just so amazing. And I loved reading this book. And this isn't a book that I sit down and I read from front to back. I'm usually reading this along with something else. But what it's set up with her biography in the beginning and then a series of homilies. And so you can really pick up and read one homily a day, and it's kind of like food for the soul for that day. So this is another fantastic book that I highly recommend. Okay, so I have a couple more that I want to share with you, but I don't actually have the physical copies here to show you. The one I checked out from the library, and so I returned that a long time ago. And then the other one I actually read on my Kindle. So before I give you those titles and tell you a little bit about them, I first want to just kind of insert like a little, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, about e-readers. I am a hard copy book kind of girl. I always prefer to have the book. There's just something about snuggling up with an e-reader or a device that just doesn't do it for me. I like cuddling up with a book. I like feeling the weight of a book. The way a cover feels and the way pages feel, like that is all, I'm big on all of that. And so I just like being able to dog-ear pages or write notes in the margins or stick little sticky notes, you know, with my thoughts on certain pages. I just like to do that. But I have so many books that I literally cannot contain them anymore. They are exploding out of every crevice of my house. I'm not even joking you. My husband is ready to lose it. So anyway, so I was like, okay, I really do need to figure something out. The other problem was anytime we go away, even if it's for a weekend, I literally bring an entire bag of books with me. Like an entire bag, I'm not even joking. I have a separate bag where I put my books and my notebooks. It is ridiculous. And so I was like, I've really got to do something about this. So I did go through the books. I did get rid of a lot of books, which I hope I don't regret, but I donated them to the library. And so I'm like, okay, at least somebody else will be able to enjoy them. I did keep all of my very favorites, and even some that aren't my very favorites. But I was like, I really do need to figure something out. And so at the same time, I had signed up for NetGalley. And so I've been on NetGalley for a couple years now. And what that is when you have a platform, whether it's a blog or a social media account with a good sized following, or a YouTube channel or whatever, when you have a platform basically, and you review books and you share books, what NetGalley is it's a website that consists of tons of different publishers. And so what you do is you go on and you can browse the books, and when you see a book that you're interested in, you can request it. Now, the majority of these books are ARCs, which are advanced reader copies. So you get to read the books before they're actually published, so that you can help the author in promoting the book when you know, it's publishing day, and you can leave, you know, write reviews and kind of help spread the word about the book. Well, the problem with that is they send you e-copies most of the time. And so I was like, okay, I really should look into getting an e-reader. And so what I ended up doing is last year, 2019, during Black Friday, Amazon was having a great sale on their Kindle Paperwhites. So I ordered a Kindle. And I have to tell you, I really do love it. And I had tried reading on other e-readers in the past. I tried reading from the Kindle app on my iPad. But I could never get into it, and it was always just distracting. It never felt like peaceful reading time, because every time I would get into it, I would get, you know, a ding for a social media notification, or an email would come through, or I would think of something and just, you know, click out of the Kindle app and go search whatever it was that had popped into my mind at that time. And so I just never got that quiet reading time. It never felt relaxing when I read on my iPad. And so I really didn't know what to think with the Kindle, if I would enjoy it or not, but I figured I'd give it a shot. And I actually do really like it. It's really easy on your eyes. It's totally distraction free. There's no messages, no notifications. You can't do anything except go to the Kindle store or read your books. I like that it has the night mode, and you know, it just has different settings. You can adjust it to what feels right with your eyes. And so a lot of times I'm up later than my husband in bed, and so I'll sit up and I'll read a while, and it's just kind of nice because I don't have to get back out of bed to shut the lights off, or, you know, I don't have to keep a lamp on that'll, you know, kind of, you know, keep him up or whatever. And so I just feel like I can cozy up even in bed with my Kindle and read. So I read quite a few books actually this year on my Kindle. So yeah, that's just my tidbit about e-readers right there. So the next book that I definitely have to tell you about is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Now, I am not typically a fantasy kind of reader. There are some fantasy books that I really love. Like I really loved the Last Name Sarah series by Kristen Cacciarelli. And there are some books that I did like, even though they were fantasy. But Heartless, I don't know why, I'd seen it so many times, but I never picked it up. And then one day I saw a friend recommend Heartless, and I was like, you know what? Let me check it out. She has, her reading taste is similar to mine, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give it a shot. Oh my gosh, you guys, I loved it. I loved it. That is probably, if I had to pick my top 3 books, there you have them. Heartless would be, it would be also up there in my top 3. It's basically the story of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland before she became the Queen of Hearts. And so, of course, nobody likes the Queen of Hearts. I mean, she's mean and she's nasty and she's off with her head. And so, I mean, I never even really thought about her. But oh my gosh, this book made me love her. It was such a good book. I totally empathized with her. You totally get why she is the way she is in Alice in Wonderland. And so it was just such a cool book. It talks about her first true love. And again, this is a young adult book. But it was such a beautiful story. And I'm actually gonna check out some of Marissa Meyer's other novels now that I just fell in love with that one. Like, that was one of the few books that I finished and I couldn't let go of the characters. I loved them. I wanted more. I wanted to know more about them. I wanted to know what happened next. And I was really hoping there was a sequel to that book. And so far there isn't, but I'm hoping one day maybe there is, because it was that good. So without further ado, let me read to you the jacket flap from Heartless. So long before she was the terror of Wonderland, the infamous Queen of Hearts, she was just a girl who wanted to fall in love. Catherine may be one of the most desired girls in Wonderland and a favorite of the unmarried King of Hearts, but her interests lie elsewhere. A talented baker, all she wants is to open a shop with her best friend. But according to her mother, such a goal is unthinkable for the young woman who could be the next queen. Then Kath meets Jest, the handsome and mysterious court joker. For the first time, she feels the pull of true attraction. At the risk of offending the king and infuriating her parents, she and Jest enter into an intense secret courtship. Kath is determined to define her own destiny and fall in love on her terms. But in a land thriving with magic, madness, and monsters, fate has other plans. Guys, it was so good. You have to read this book. Again, it's totally clean. I'm not into like magic or like books like that. I usually stay away from them unless it's just like light magic. Like, I'm not into like spells and witchcraft and stuff like that, but I don't mind like fantasy magic, you know, like animals who talk or, you know, things like that. And that's the kind of magic that this has. You'll see a lot of the characters from Alice in Wonderland. I was not a big Alice in Wonderland fan, to be honest. I never saw any of the new versions. I read the book and I saw the original Alice in Wonderland Disney movie, but that was really it. But this book, I mean, even if you're not an Alice in Wonderland fan, you will love this book because the story is just so captivating and the characters are so lovable and relatable. And yeah, that was an awesome, awesome book. So the next one is called All the Love You Write, and it's by D.G. Driver. This was another one that I read on my Kindle. I actually got this one from NetGalley. And it was another one of those stories. It was a very easy read. It was not a long read, but it was just one of those stories that really kind of just hits you in the heart. And I like those stories. And so this one is about, it says, a story about young love, first love, true love, timeless love, and the power of love letters. It got me there. I didn't even need to read anymore. Mark and Bethany are two mismatched high school seniors in a new relationship. It's doomed to fail. Mark has adored Bethany since middle school, and she's finally giving him a chance. Only he's clumsy at romance and knows he'll lose her because of it. Bethany thinks Mark is sweet, only she's afraid to commit her whole heart to him because he's going into the army and she's headed off to college. 50 years earlier, a boy and a girl from the same high school shared an amazing but tragic love story. They now have returned as ghosts and are interfering in Mark and Bethany's relationship. Who are they? Why do they care what happens to Mark and Bethany? So again, I'm not normally into ghosts and stuff like that either, but this book, it does it well. So you don't really think of them as ghosts. You just kind of think of it as two people from the past trying to help a young couple get past their fears and their hesitations and find love. And so it's a really cute story too. I really enjoyed that book. And so yeah, that's it. Those are my favorite books of 2020. And I'm really hoping to do a video each month showing you what I've read and telling you which books I liked and didn't like. So thank you guys for watching. As always, I appreciate you hanging out here with me. I hope you enjoyed the video and got some new titles to add to your TBR pile. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and ring the bell if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll see you guys next time.